Hi, good morning instead of good evening. Having some technical difficulties last night and found a workaround this morning, so I'll get that all fixed up. But I so much look forward to this time to just reflect and become aware of how our last month went. So the way that this release to receive works is that the main idea is at the end of the year. You get like a full year under your belt, and then you look back. You look back at all of the experiences, all of the events, all of the situations that you went through, because our experiences shape our beliefs and our ideas. But when we are always hustling, when we are always going, so often you don't even have a chance to stop and acknowledge not just the bad, but the good. And that's what we want to do. So, part of this reflection, the release to receive concept, is that there are different ideas and belief systems that we're holding on to that are self limiting. And the only way to replace those beliefs, or the only way to get rid of those beliefs, is to replace them. So, we've talked about this in all different aspects of our life. If you've worked with me before, that there's not really anything negative going on that you could just stop doing. Like, it's really difficult to stop doing, which is why the idea is instead you have to replace. You either have to replace that habit, you have to replace that belief, you have to replace that self-talk with something more self-serving, and then it happens with ease. Right. So it's just a matter of us directing our own thoughts. This also stems from um, uh, a teaching that I received from Bob Proctor. This is something a friend of mine made. Her husband soldered it for me, and it's a little paperweight, but this is of the stick person that Bob Proctor shares. And in the stick person, the idea is that we need to be able to visualize something in order to change it. So when you ask people, what does a mind look like? A lot of people will say the brain, they'll describe like pink mushy, but the idea of the mind, people can't really grab an image of it. So he decided to create one. And so if you think of this top circle as the mind, you think of the top part as your conscious mind. So this is where all of your senses come in. You take in everything you smell, see, touch. Um, See, smell, touch. I always forget them when I'm on the camera, but all your senses. And then the bottom one is your subconscious mind. And the only way that information gets into your subconscious mind is well, when you're a baby, when you're young, you're completely open subconscious. Everything is new. So you're learning about yourself, you're learning about what's true, what's not from those who care for you and what's going on in your environment. But as you get older, the only way for information to penetrate into your subconscious mind is through repetition or through emotional impact. So that's where we develop, like, when you're growing up and then somebody says something about you, about your weight, about the way you smell, about your intelligence, about anything that's to do with you as a core being, it has an emotional impact. And the negative ones can often be even stronger. So they almost immediately embed themselves into your new belief about yourself. And that's because we're not aware, we're not conscious of it, we're just letting it happen. But with this information, we become aware of what we're allowing ourselves to believe, and we go, is that true or is that not? Is that something I want to believe or is it not? So, what I've decided to start doing is doing our release to receive on a monthly basis so that at the end of the year, it'll be so easy to pull up every month's reflection, every month's summary, and really take it in at a much quicker pace than starting at the end of the year where people are taking it 1 month at a time and doing the initial reflection then. And so when I'm saying to do a reflection on the month of February, which we just we're nearing the end of, I want you to think about just February, the second month of 2025. And I want you to think about everything that happened. Everything. I love to, you can see behind me, I light some candles. I like to put on some jazz music, and I just allow myself to get into the mode of reflection with no distractions. And I really suggest you try to do that, because to do it while you have a million other things calling at you, it's going to make it a lot more strenuous and less enjoyable. But what I want you to think about are these different categories. So when you're like, okay, Kate, what do I reflect on? I want you to reflect on your family, your interactions with your family, maybe your family events. I want you to think about everything to do with your family, about your role in your family, about the past relationships and beliefs you've made about each other, about each family member. And then I want you to think about what went well and what didn't go the way that you had hoped. I want you to do the same for your career or your profession. Think about things that you experienced, maybe different events you participated in, or different conversations you had with colleagues. And I want you to think, did it go well? Did it go better than you expected? Or did it not develop the outcome you wanted? This is just fact finding, okay? We aren't doing this to shame ourselves. We're not doing this to get like really hooked up. I don't want people spending hours and hours reflecting like, "Oh my god, that time that I did that thing in front of the whole office." This is not to spiral. It is simply fact gathering. So, how did it go in your career or your profession or your passion projects this past month? Just February. How did you do with your finances? How were you with your spending, your savings, your investments? Did your money make you money? Did you find new money? Did something happen where you had to use up a bunch of your emergency savings? What was your experience with money this month? What did you believe about yourself with money this month? Then I want you to do the same about your relationships with friends and your social life. Do you have a social life? Is it a real social life or is it a surface level relationships? Friendships are so important. I've been reading tons of different articles and studies about the importance of having true friendships, how we often get into family mode and you kind of sacrifice everything else. But they say people who live like the longest, happiest lives have really strong friendship bonds as well. They aren't limited to just certain people who are dependent on them. They're opening themselves up to other people just for the enjoyment of it. It's so healthy. I think about my grandmother. She's turning 92 at the end of March, and her whole town was basically her friends. But she made her friends feel like family. Whether they traveled together, whether they had meals together, she was very intentional about her relationships. That they realized how important they were. She put the time and effort into them, and she owned her own clothing business. She was a very busy woman. We lived, I think, like 7 hours away. She was balancing priorities, and she made those friends a priority. I want you to think back to this month in February and how were you health-wise? How did you feed your body? How did you move your body? What kind of things did you say to yourself about your body? Did you use it to have fun experiences, to go on hikes, to go skiing, to go swimming, whatever the situation is, wherever you're living? Did you use your body to experience life fully? Or did you sit somewhere scrolling? And I'm not saying this shamefully. I'm a sit and scroller kind of girl sometimes as well. We all need those releases. But what did you do? Be honest with yourself. Nobody else sees this. You don't have to hype, you don't have to like make stuff up, and you also don't want to just use it to put yourself down because I'm sure there's things you did when you stop and reflect that were great. Okay, I'm almost through these categories. The next one, spirituality or purpose. Regardless of your faith, whatever you believe in, how in tune were you with your spirituality? Did you make time for it? That could bring a lot of peace when you get yourself grounded and re-anchored. When you give yourself to a higher power, whatever that is. I know a couple times I was feeling overwhelmed by life, especially when my girls were younger. And I remember calling my parents, and my dad happened to answer because usually it's a mom type of conversation. And I was crying and I said, Dad, I'm so overwhelmed. This is going on with my one daughter. This is going on with my other daughter. This is what's going on with Kyle. This is going on with my friends. And he said, Kate, it sounds like you're trying to be responsible for everything. And that's not your responsibility. You need to ask for help. You need to hand that over to a higher power. And as soon as he said it, I felt the relief. As soon as he said it, I felt the weight off my shoulders. I am one human. I am not responsible for life happening. We can't control everything, and that the best I could do is focus on myself and hand that over to a higher power. It was very, very powerful for me. And if you have experience like that, share it with us. I'd love to hear it. Um, the last one, education and knowledge. What did you do in February to grow your mind, your knowledge, your wisdom? Did you intentionally learn a new skill? Did you develop new skills that move you closer to goals that you may have set? Are you learning something just out of interest, just out of a passion? There's so many different ways you can apply education. It doesn't just have to be towards like a profession or professionally. So when you're looking at all these categories, I like to reflect using my online calendar. It's kind of our lifeline or our family calendar on the wall. I like to look through my photos. Photos could be great sparks and reminders of things that happened throughout the month. I'll look through social media, see if I posted anything that happened that was important or relevant this month. Just wherever you kind of know you could go to. If you're someone who journals every night, go through your journal and pull out all of the goodies, all of the wins, all of the things that you did that you're proud of. Pull them out because you need to keep those front of mind. You need to remind yourself of your awesomeness, of how many great things that you accomplished and that you experienced, how blessed you are. So many people forget how blessed they are. I mentioned this in a video. I can't remember if I said it in our community or if I said it online. There's this special I watched on Netflix called Avicii. I'm Tim Avicii, and he was a famous DJ. And unfortunately, he passed away at a very young age. I think he was under the age of 40, um, because he said in this documentary, they had interviewed him like a month before he passed. So they did his voiceover his entire life. Like it was really powerful. But at the end, he's standing on a beach and he said, I wish I could just be content. He had millions and millions of dollars. He was being paid eight or $12 million per event that he was doing. Like he was just, or for a couple of events, he had all of the money you could ever need. He was young. He had incredible connections of friends. He had what everybody from the outside would think would be the dream. And he said he would love to just be able to drive himself to the grocery store. We've heard this before, right? About celebrities. They said everything they dreamed to come true did, and it wasn't what they expected, that it was more lonely. And they said they wish they could have just been more content. So that was like his aim was that now, after all of this success, he was pulling away from the spotlight and he was meditating, he was exercising, and he was doing things to be more content with his existing life. Doesn't this apply to all of us? All of us could be more content with what we have right now. Think about the blessings. I always say, like, when you hurt yourself, when I've fallen and I hurt my back or I hurt my neck, think, man, I've got to be more grateful when my neck doesn't hurt because this is brutal. We forget how good it is when you're not in pain. We forget how good it is when you're not starving. When you've got like food in your belly, that's a great feeling compared to a time where you were worried about where you were going to get next meal. There's so much to be grateful for every moment. But if we don't stop and realize that, we're just like next, 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 next. You'll always feel insufficient. You'll always feel inadequate. Always be aiming for next, and you'll always feel like you're not enough or you don't have enough. So that movie about this I'm Tim Avicii was really powerful for me because he had it all and he thought of all the things he gave up and how he wished he was more content. So when you're looking at this last month, I want you to do it with grateful eyes, with grateful thoughts. Look what I got to do. Look who I got to spend time with. And then again, when you're looking at these situations, I want you to think, what did not go the way that I wanted? When did I not show up as my best? When did I come down too hard on someone? When was I not completely honest? Maybe I shared a white lie. All these things, and it's up to us. What matters to us? What do we value? Like, where did we not show up to where we know we could do better? And the last place to look when you're thinking about this month is your goals. How did you do being honest with yourself? Did you get closer to your goal? Were there things that you were going to do that you didn't do, commitments you didn't keep with yourself? So when you're going through this experience, you're going to be tracking both the good and the bad, everything that happened throughout this month. And at the end, I want you to pull all of the negative experiences. And I want you to realize that those experiences help develop new beliefs about yourself, whether you realize it or not, whether you acknowledge it or not. If you made a bad decision with money, that just deepened a belief about yourself about how you are with money. If you got into an argument with someone, that just deepens your belief that you're a reaction type of person and that you've got a short fuse. If you want that to be true, great, you could celebrate that. But if you don't want that to be true, then what you need to do is replace that belief with something new. I am patient. I respond with intention. It's just something you learned about yourself from February. It's not good, it's not bad, it's just something you learn. And when you replace it with something that makes you feel more aligned with who you really are, then we go into March intentional. Okay, here are all of the things that I'm going to be mindful of and I am going to pursue. I'm going to be better at responding. The next time a situation comes like that about my finances, I'm going to make a different decision. And this is so, so powerful because I remember one month, well, for like 6 years, I tracked my debt. I was great at budgeting my debts. And then I had one mentor say, whatever you track, you attract. So if you keep tracking debt, you're going to keep attracting debt because then that gives you something to be proud of tracking. That, ew, that's gross. I was definitely proud of it, but I didn't want more of it. So that's what they said, track your net worth. By tracking your net worth, it also incorporates your savings, your investments, your assets. That felt better. Ever since I did that, my debt's consistently gone down, not raised up, and my savings has increased because I'm so excited about all the different ways I can raise my net worth. There's things you could have learned this month that if you carry forward intentionally, they'll change your life. But if we hear something, go, oh, that sounds good. Oh, that person's right. We listen to a gazillion podcasts. We listen to ebooks. We watch all this advice. We read all this advice. Go, that's so smart. And then we take zero action. We're intelligent beings. Why is our life not changing? Because we're not replacing those beliefs about ourselves. That's so smart that you should move all the time. But my self image is that I don't move. I'm lazy. I'm a couch potato. I'd rather be on my phone. That's just a belief. If you want to keep believing it, then take that into March. And if you don't, how can you change? How can you go into March with intention? So, this is something that is really personal, but it will have a big, big impact. And then you'll know what areas you need to focus on, what areas you've been feeling like need to change, need to shift. What have you been accepting that you don't want to accept anymore? Another big one that I've heard from a lot of clients when they do this reflection is people they gave access to. They said every month, every time I see them, they just drag me down. They want to complain, they want to vent, they want to tell me their life's like sorrows. And I always feel just drained when they leave. And they said from doing this reflection, they realized I don't have to do that. I could tell them, like, this is my new way. I want to talk possibility. I want to stay positive. I don't want to get stressed and anxious about the economy, about what's going on in the States. I want to just focus on what's good and what I'm doing next. And if that friend's with you, good. Then they grow with you. And if they're not, then you just limit your access. You are the only one who has the power to change your own life. And this reflection will help you determine where you want to do that and how. We have the answers. Just take the time to go through these. You don't have to spend hours and hours, guys. You pull one or two good nuggets from this experience, just doing a review of your pictures or your journal or your calendar and say, okay, what are some things I won't let repeat next month? That's good enough. That will move the needle. It will make you feel like you are more in control. You are less of a victim of circumstance and more of the driver of your bus, and you'll make your life better. And the ripple effect of that will be everybody around you will benefit from your higher energy, from you feeling better about yourself. So that's all I have about that. I don't know, Carol, now that you're kind of situated, do you have any insights on this? Have you done this exercise before?
Oh,
There you go.
hi. Um, yeah, it was really good. It's sounds great idea the way you put things into months and write some things down because I know me, I've had two, really different months with things happening. So um, yeah, so it's nice to just keep track of that.
Yeah. Even like as a fellow author, I'm becoming one. Carol is an official author. Just think how good this is when you're developing your characters or when you're writing your book, like your book about your story. That was a reflection on your experience. And how many like nuggets of gold did you get from that? Things that you may
Yeah,
have forgotten if you didn't write them down. Um,
absolutely. And that same thing with journaling, and like that's why I did write that down because I was afraid I would forget it, and I would
right.
have.
Yeah, I remember last year we took our when my mom had her stroke in March of 2020, my sister and I thought we have to do some things to intentionally show our faith that she's going to be okay because she went in and the doctor said we're going to do surgery and it's a really big bleed and we're not sure what's going to happen, basically telling us we're not sure she's going to live through this. And we couldn't even for a second hold that thought. So two things, we thought we're going to get tattoos, matching tattoos with each other and dad and mom. And that's going to be the palm tree. It's a symbol of resilience because they don't necessarily break or rip out of the ground in tornadoes or storms. They bend and the roots get stronger. So we thought we're going to get tattoos with mom and we're going to go on a family trip to Disney. And then when she came out of the stroke, thank God, after 6 months, it was really, really difficult rehab. And we thought, we just have our mom. Who cares about Disney? If it happens, great. If not, and then we just, life kept getting good and things kept going. And then we booked Disney. And when I did my reflection, I forgot that I'd gone to Disney that year. It was like this life's goal to take my mother to Disney with our kids and everything. And I'd forgotten until I did my reflection. And that's a pretty
Mm,
significant event that we had,
for sure.
right? So people assume they'll remember. Oh, that was just too great to forget. That was too horrible to forget. But you do,
Yeah.
at least front of mind. Does anything immediately come to mind for you when you think about February?
Well, for me, I got some clarity, I think, on moving my retirement a little bit forward and that letting go of what I think I need as far as work goes.
Oh, amazing. Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I did a lot of realization about my mental health growing up, thinking when you're a teenage girl and I had some stuff going on with my brain, I literally thought I'm a crazy person. I must be a crazy person. Everybody else seems to have their emotions in check and I just can't seem to nail mine down. But it developed beliefs about in myself about my emotions and fear of depression or anxiety. So now if I ever feel down, I worry like, "Oh, is this depression? Am I depressed again?" And it's a really strong belief and feeling. And I thought I can't. So through this reflection, I was like, wait, I didn't sleep for 4 days. My kid was sick. All these things happened. I was like, well, if you don't sleep for 4 days and it's gray and gloomy and raining outside, all these different things that explained why I was feeling like down. I wasn't down, I was tired.
Yeah.
But if I didn't catch that, I could have kept going on with mental health issues as opposed to just giving myself some grace. Yeah. I just think our self-image matters. It shows, it's how we show up in life.
And I think a lot of people in February felt that way for those few weeks, at least in
Yeah.
Manitoba.
Oh, so cold.
Yeah.
You're like cooped up inside. I'm gonna end the recording so that I could say farewell to Carol personally, but as you go through this experience, share what comes up for you, if there's anything that you realized or that you let go of. Because also, if you took big chances and it paid off, we are too slow to celebrate ourselves. So acknowledge it and just marinate in the feeling of, I did that. I followed through. Big or small, doesn't matter. Anything that deepens a new belief about yourself that you are great, you are incredible, you are powerful, you are consistent, you are disciplined. Marinate in it. Don't let that just be a fleeting moment of pride and then go back to all the things you're not doing or not good enough at. Let's just build that muscle of believing in ourselves and creating new self beliefs. All right. Bye, everybody. You say bye to Carol in a minute. So, bye.